Hello, welcome to the Rise Up with Margarita show. I'm Margarita Alcantara, and if we haven't met yet, I help the New Earth leaders activate light and empowerment for the planet and build epic businesses through power activation and mentorship. So every week at 2 p.m. on Mondays Eastern Time, I show up with a new topic to really discuss and help you rise up as a light worker who's ready to show up in a bigger way in the world. And one of the reasons why I'm super excited about today's show is because it's the first one since I've been out. I was about to say and about, but I haven't been really about. If you've been checking out my reels lately. But yeah, it's the first live since I think 4 weeks. So I think last month in June, like early June, was the last time I was on live. And so I'm super, super excited to be here. And hello, hello, and welcome back. I'm so glad to see you here. And thank you for all the hearts, and I'm really appreciating that. Good to see everyone here. And so today's topic, it's going to be really juicy. I ask that any questions you have, you kind of say them towards the end, and that they be relevant to the topic, because sometimes people are like, tell me about this chakra, tell me about my healing journey, and it's like, the topic for today is what I will answer questions on. So today's topic is the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. So one of the reasons why I was super, super um, excited about this topic is I'm always excited about the topic of visibility for light workers. I mean, if you've been watching me long enough, you know that like I talk about it like all the time, right? Because it's super, super important, because you as a light worker, because it's all the light workers who are ready to emerge and expand and be the leaders who the world needs, right? Because the world needs leaders of light right now. So that's all what I'm about, right? Like I'm here to help those who are ready for that expand, get big, get seen, and importantly, make impact. It's not just for the sake of just being seen and visible, right? And I'm so happy to see you here today as well. Liberation Codes. And Lamaris is here as well. Good to see you. Yeah, so, one of the biggest things that light workers can do when you know you've got a big purpose in the world is, first of all, take ownership of that purpose, right? Super, super important. And one of the ways you do that is by being visible. And I don't mean just popping something out on social media just for the sake of doing it, right? Like I'm talking about intentionally, consciously being visible, showing up in service, channeling that message from God that you are here to provide, right? Because you have a very specific message. No one else has got this message. Like there may be people who might echo something similar to your message, but honestly, no one else really has the message that you have in the nuance that you provided. So, because I mean, there are so many people in the spiritual community talking about power, right? Like, I mean, as you know, I'm actually an activator for the new code of power, and that's why I'm always talking about power. But it's true power. It's your divine power. It's your God power, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about the old school, the old paradigm way of power, which is really all about, manipulating people. It's about greed. It's about who can I get over, who can I control, all that stuff. That has nothing to do with true power. And so, there are other people other than myself who are talking about power, and being in it in the spiritual world, right? But like no one else can share it the way that I can, right? And no one else has my story. No one else has lived my life that can provide like a plethora of wisdom, because like I just celebrated my 52nd birthday. It was technically the day after surgery, right? So I mean, as you know, it's not a secret. I already put it out in like 2 reels, that I had surgery, and that's why I was out, because I was getting that surgery and then also recovering from it. And so, and that in itself is something that, I had done to address certain symptoms that I was having. And if you check out my most recent reel, which I think I did on Friday, it gives you a little bit more of a backstory, and I'll be kind of sharing a little bit more of these aspects. And the reason why is not just so to tell you about my life, right? Because that's not my purpose, right? But it's to illustrate what you get to also embody on your path, because you may not have the same experience that I'm having or had, because this, that work was last week, very close, right? But last month, for some stuff that I had been moving through for some time, right? And so it's been addressed, and that's amazing, and it's all awesome, and everything's awesome now. And I shared about that, like in my past two reels, and that was more that was more of a window into my personal life, right? And that's not something that I always share. Like, I'll always share something about my journey to really help illustrate something for you, because maybe you're, at that beginning part where I used to be, like many years ago. But some of these things that are most recent in my journey, like, I mean, I'm also complete with that, right? Like, I mean, as I always teach, it's about sharing from the healed wound, not from a raging, healed scar, a healed scar versus a raging wound, right? Because that's one of the biggest mistakes. Like, I think it was one of my previous lives that I shared. A lot of light workers, they say, oh yeah, like, I'm sharing my truth, but they're basically like emotionally vomiting on their audience, right? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming from that place where you are able to be of service, coming from that place where, you're not still in the raging, like, oh my God, my life is in shambles, or, whatever. Like, you're not coming from that place. You're coming from the place of, I'm complete with that experience, and here's what I'd like to share about it with you, right? And so that's why visibility is super, super important, because if you don't share your story in a way that is aligned for what you're here to create and provide in the world and impact the world with, then no one will know who you are, number one, which is a tragedy in of itself, right? But then you won't be able to make your impact. So, that's why, I'm going to share with you a little bit. I touched a little bit upon it just now, but here's why being in your lightworker visibility is vital to making a difference in the world. So, a lot of light workers, for instance, they like will say, oh, I'm already in my light worker purpose, right? But they're not, like, no one knows they exist, right? Like, they're just kind of doing it in the comfort of their own home, in their bedroom, like in their, all by themselves, right? And you can definitely do some work that way, right? But if you are here to make an impact in the world, like really make a difference in a huge way, it's going to be about being visible in your authentic truth, because it's going to be all about connection. That's what visibility is about. It's not about who can I get money from, right? Like, that's not the energy that is about the visibility, right? For light workers, it is about who can I serve, who can I help, right? And so if you're just kind of staying in the comfort of your own home and not really showing up in a more visible way, then you're not helping as many people as you could. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, I do a lot of work on the grids of the earth, right? Like, I do a lot of work with, a lot of the crafts. I connect a lot with a lot of the crafts of light. I'm very connected with my star family. I do a lot of work on other levels, right? I do a lot of work on other planes. I do a lot of work, on spaceships. I'm in galactic wars, sometimes at night. Like, I'm doing a lot of work on an energetic level. And also, I do a lot of conscious energetic work with Gaia as well. And for the planet, I do a lot of stuff, right? But that said, I'm also showing up and providing offers and services to those who I know I can help. And that is part of service. So, that's really important. If you're really prioritizing as a light worker, making impact and really leading the light in the world, it's going to mean that you're actually showing up in the world, right? Actually showing up, saying, hey, I exist. Here I am. I've got stuff for you that I know will help you, right? And also, why being in your light worker visibility is super important is because you make a bigger impact in the world by letting people know not only that you exist, but also what your services are, right? And there's a way to be visible as a light worker. And it's not just let me slap up a reel and call it a day, right? Like there gets to be intention and consciousness around how you're approaching things, right? Another reason also is why your visibility as a light worker is vital to making a difference in the world is because getting out of your comfort zone at all, like on any level, helps you grow, and light workers who are here to lead the new earth are committed to growth. So if you're not committed to growth, then I guess, my work isn't for you, my content isn't for you, right? But if you are committed to growing and expanding, that's really what we're here and being called forward to do, right? To expand, to raise our frequency, raise our vibration, especially if you're a starseed. That's literally our job, right? That's literally our job. If you're a starseed, it's literally, and for those of you who are not connected to that word starseed, but who may be a starseed, and you know who you are. Starseeds are those who have roots on other star systems and incarnate on purpose on planet Earth in order to raise the consciousness and the frequency of humanity. So speaking as a starseed myself, that's something that I've known for a while now, right? And for some people, they have that knowing already since a very early age. Some people open up into that later, but wherever you're at, if you're a starseed, that's literally your job, right? To raise the frequency and consciousness of humanity. And especially right now, like if you incarnated on purpose right now, you're actually seeing my live right now. There's a reason why, because we, as you know, are in the middle of a planetary awakening, and this is what we incarnated on purpose to experience and to also show up for. Because the world, as you can tell, is in need of our healing. And so it's time to step it up, right? So if you are a light worker who's ready to open up into that, here are the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. So that's the topic of today. And as a reminder, I'm only going to be answering questions that are related to this topic and closer to the end of the share, right? So number 1, needing, this is to let go of, right? As a reminder, needing to let go of, and so needing to take care of other people's reactions to you. That is the number 1 thing that you as a light worker get to let go of and need to let go of if you want to let yourself be seen. Because a lot of light workers, they will stop themselves from really being seen. And I'm not talking about just slapping up a reel, like I've said before, right? Because a lot of light workers will be like, okay, my job is done. I slapped up a reel, whatever, I got it done, right? And of course, it's important to get it done, but it's also important to get it done from a level of consciousness, from a level of awareness within yourself, and a level of alignment within yourself, being connected to your purpose. And then, showing up and focusing in on that from that place. And of course, that also, it's super, super important. You can't really be visible, putting out your messaging out there in the world if you don't know who your ideal client is, right? And I'm not going to get into that today. That's something I actually go deep on with my private clients, because that's like building block number 1. If you don't have that down, then everything that you're putting out on social media is basically like flinging wet spaghetti on a wall and hoping it sticks, right? Like that's basically what that is. So step 1 of being conscious with your visibility, with showing up on any level, including social media, is to know who you're serving. Right. So it's that ideal client, that ideal person. And like I said, I won't be getting into that right now, into this live, because that's like a whole other just like subject for another live. But when you're connected to who you're serving, then all of your messaging will flow in that direction, right? In that proper, aligned, heightened, conscious direction. And that said, one thing that also holds light workers back a lot is not only not knowing who they're here to serve, but they're already, because a lot, especially starseeds, are empaths. Like so many starseeds are empaths. Many light workers are empaths, meaning that you can pick up on other people's feelings, right? And that's not a curse. That's only what disempowered empaths think, right? Empowered empaths, they know that having this awareness is a superpower. And for me, it's a superpower. I mean, I live in the middle of New York City, like literally, I live in Midtown, and my private practice is in the Flatiron District, which is off Broadway and 21st, right? And one would say, if you're not yet empowered as an empath, they're like, oh my God, that's like a lot of people, and I would never be able to do that. Anyone can do it, right? Any empath can show up in an empowered way, but it first requires you to take ownership of being an empath and being in your power as an empath. And one of those things that you can do when you are empowered as an empath and you're showing up as a leader of light in the world is you let go of other people's reactions to you, right? Because a lot of light workers will take it on. If you're not empowered yet as a light worker, if you're still disempowered as a light worker, you're going to take responsibility for everyone's opinion about you and what you're sharing. And that is like the fastest way, not only to burnout, but to getting tons of attachments, if you know what I mean. And I'm not talking about the good kind, right? So, hi Milagro, good to see you here. She's saying, I always learn so much from you. I'm so glad to hear it, and I'm glad you're here. So that is why this is step number one, letting go of needing to take care of other people's reactions to you. Because if I had like $1 for every light worker who says, I'm afraid of other people's judgments of me, I'm afraid what my parents would think, I'm afraid what my ex is going to think, what my childhood friends are going to think, what the world at large is going to think, they're all going to think I'm crazy. Notice the word think is in there like way too much, right? Like you're thinking way too much about what other people are thinking of you. I mean, granted, once you get to a certain age, you kind of don't give a shit anymore. Like I'm there and beyond that, right? But also when you do the work, when you do your inner work, you care less about approval and about equating and attaching your worth to other people's approval, and you just show up and get shit done, right? And not just to get it done, right? Not just to, tick off something on your list, but because it's like, yeah, did it, got it, followed through, right? It's like it's getting lit up in that way. Because here's the thing is that like you've seen, like if you've been watching me on social media enough, you've seen that like I have like haters. I've got some haters, and it's like whatever, dude. It's like, I mean, so what, right? I mean, I've dealt with a lot more intense things in my life than people who like to troll and don't have the courage to show up and do the things that I do on social media to give a shit about, like, oh my God, my feelings are hurt. Oh my God, maybe they're right. Like, because I know who I am, right? I know who I am. I've done my work. I don't attach my worth to what people say anymore. So even when people are, giving me compliments, I mean, that's lovely and I appreciate it. But also my worth is not attached to that. My worth is not attached to what people think of me, see of me, whatever, right? Like what I'm here to do is not so that people can tell me that whatever, that they like my earrings or they like my makeup job, like, okay, that's awesome, great. But here's what I'm here to share with you, right? So when you're able to come from that place of letting go of that attachment to what other people think about you. Because honestly, what will happen? Okay, let's just go there. What will happen if someone says, oh my God, you're crazy? Oh my God, who do you think you are to be saying all that? You are so full of yourself, right? These are all the things that I used to think back in the day, many years ago, when I first started out. And a lot of light workers are grappling with that right now. And I make it look easy, right? Because I'm on the other side. But the reality is also, it's really not that hard to make the decision. And then following through, it's just literally like one step in front of the other, right? So that's super important. And be okay with other people getting triggered by what you say. In fact, embrace it. Embrace the fact that you are initiating some level of healing for others, because whenever someone gets triggered by what I say, I know it has nothing to do with me. I'm just literally a messenger, right? And of course, when I'm sharing, it's not like, an emotional vomit like some light workers might do, right? Like, oh my God, I'm going through such a rough time. Let me unload it on you, right? Like that's not service, right? That's called, it's time for working things out, right? It's time to do that inner work. When you show up and you're aligned and you're speaking your truth from a place where you are already healed from what you're moving through, and you're leading from a place of service, people can feel that, so like, even if you're a light worker and you've got services, which means yes, you are going to be selling those services to those who it can help, right? That's something that you get to take ownership of, right? Because that's one of the things that can also hold people, light workers specifically, back from showing up in the world, is like, oh my God, I don't want to, appear salesy or like look like I'm being greedy. And to them, for light workers who have a lot of outdated beliefs about money, like, and we're not going to talk about all those levels right now because that's like a whole other live, and I've done a whole other live on money and light workers. But if light workers are still stuck in the whole money is evil, money is a bad thing, like, I don't want money. Like, well, guess what, right? Like, I mean, if you think money's evil, guess what you're going to repel? And so, just think about that. And the reality is that if you're a light worker, you're here to serve. And selling your services is part of service. And so that's an aspect of this point number one, needing to take care of other people's reactions to you. Allow yourself to be okay with people having issues with you even providing your services. Can you believe I even have to say that? Because people do. Like, I mean, I've experienced it, right? Like, light workers experience that, but it's about how you share, right? And so that's really, really important. Just because you're an empath doesn't mean you're here to take care of other people's feelings. Okay, like, it means you can pick other people's energies up, you can feel their emotions, but that does not mean, just because you can feel it does not mean you need to take care of it, right? Right, unless they're not on a physical level. And we all get to take care of our own feelings and be responsible for our own journeys. And so that's a very important thing to remember, is that when you are a light worker who's showing up as a leader, you are making sure you're not taking on other people's energies. Because if you can only imagine, if I did that, like, with 26K plus followers uh, on Instagram, like, I mean, can you imagine if I took on everyone's shit? Like, that would be a tragedy, right? and bullshit, to be honest, like, right? Because that's not my job. I'm not here to caretake. I'm not here to be responsible for other people's journeys. I'm here to show up and do my job, and to serve and to help and to assist and to raise the consciousness and frequency, right? And if other people are having a reaction that may kind of appear negative, right? That's not on me, right? That's on them. That's on them, because something is getting triggered, something is butting up against their own belief system. And that in itself can be super healing. And that's really, really important to know, that when you're triggering someone, that's not your job to take care of their trigger. It's not your job to take care of their disappointment, their anger, their fear, right? That's not your job. That's theirs. That's on them. And so, as you can see, that's why I don't take ownership of, when I share something on social media and some people are like, who do you think you are? Or you obviously don't care about people, or you have no compassion. It's like, yeah, I know myself. So that's not even landing on me, right? Like, that's not even my energy, because I know who I am, and I know what I'm here to share. And I know I'm committed to my impact, and that's what's important. Not caretaking other people's feelings because, you know, they had an issue with something I said. And of course, when it gets shared from a place of alignment, compassion, from a place where you are already healed and already clear in your energy. And so that's super important. And that's why I got really, really deep into this point number one, because this is the number one thing that empaths, light workers, starseeds, mystics, seers get to let go of. If you really want to show up and make an impact in the world, let go of your need to caretake other people's feelings. Let go of it. It ain't serving you. And for those empaths who are like, but Margarita, you don't get it. I need to help the world, right? That's my responsibility. Yes, by being healed in yourself and by knowing who you are and taking ownership of that, to the point that when you show up in service, you're truly indeed showing up in service, rather than, oh God, like, I don't want to piss this person off. I don't want these people to know that I'm so spiritual. Like, if that's your priority, your priority is your comfort zone. So let that sink in a little bit. If your priority is to please others and caretake other people's feelings, then you are more concerned about your own comfort level, which is another way of saying selfishness, right? And I've been there, so I'm not like judging, right? Like, I've been there, instead of service. And so that's one of the reasons why I shared what I shared. And I'm not done sharing about like all this wisdom and the downloads that I received as a result of all this deep, deep stuff I experienced recently, right? Because it's more important for me to show up and help people with this wisdom, this new wisdom, these downloads that I just experienced, and instead of like being in my selfishness of like, oh my God, like I'm scared, right? Because I did move through that, at least for a little bit, because I'm not used to sharing that level of myself. But it's not about me, right? It's about how can I help people. So that all was for number one, for the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. Let go of number one, needing to take care of other people's feelings and reactions and their journey, not your job. Number 2, let go of being perfect. And ladies, I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to you, ladies, because we have been brought up, unless you live on a mountain, and if you did, good for you. That's super awesome. But for most of us, we have been conditioned as women to connect our worth and attach our worth and our worthiness and our deserving to other people's approval. I mean, it's like even in our education system. I went through the education system here in the US, and it teaches you how to be a good employee. That's what it teaches you. It teaches you how to be a good employee and be a good worker bee. It doesn't teach you how to be a leader. It doesn't. It doesn't. And so, especially if you're a woman, you have probably been taught, don't speak until spoken to, do it right. You get your ego stroked, or you get your pat on the back if you do what you're told, right? And the whole thing is, if you're a leader, if you're being called to be a leader, none of that shit flies, okay? It just doesn't. Because you're not here to acquiesce and to be obedient and to comply. You're here to show up and give the medicine. And the medicine don't always taste good, all right? It just doesn't. So let go of being perfect. All that stuff you were taught, acquiesce, comply, be obedient, do as you're told, all this stuff, right? And I'm just unhiding a comment. Thank you, Jamie. I'm seeing your comment here. She's saying, oh my God, is that the piece of advice I struggle with? I am not perfect and won't be because I'm human, but boy, does my brain never shut up about not being perfect, LOL. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Okay. So here's how you address that. First of all, let go. Let go of being perfect. Let go of it. That doesn't serve you. Being perfect doesn't serve you. Attaching your worth to validation and approval will not serve you. It will not. So I hope I'm landing, because I'm putting like special emphasis on all this because it will not serve you. Leaders who are here to show up and truly lead the light, who are here to forge a new path, who are here to be a way shower for the world, they don't do so by, oh, do I have my approval yet? Do I have my permission? No, you give yourself permission. You give yourself permission, and you are worthy simply because you were born. You incarnated on this planet with no fear. Honestly, as a starseed especially, you incarnated with no fear. Really. You learned to be fearful. We all learned to be fearful. Viking Girl Design says, always heard as a kid, little girls should be seen and not heard. Yep, I heard that too. I heard that too. And that ain't my jam no more. And you know why? Because it's not my reality. It's like literally, it's a quantum level shift. When you're truly in the fullness of your power, you're literally embodied in that new quantum level shift, right? And it's not just saying positive affirmations until hopefully it goes away, right? Like you need to do that inner work where you no longer attach being perfect, because first of all, that's unattainable. No one's perfect. If you're perfect, you're like an ascended master somewhere, right? So it's really that progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. Keep growing. Keep being committed to your growth. And really let go of like, if I get approval, and which this kind of ties into point number one I just mentioned about, needing other people's feelings to be okay around you, right? Like it's okay if other people are not okay with their feelings as a result of whatever you shared. Like, because let's say they were like aghast about what you shared. Are you going to die? No, you are not going to die. your ego, your pride may a little bit, right? If you attach to that, but I mean, it's just your pride. Honestly, it's not a big deal. So this whole thing about being perfect, let go of perfection, and you do that by letting go of attaching your worth and your deservedness to live a good life, to be successful. Let go of that all being dependent on whether or not you get permission or approval or validation. Until you let that go, you will still function from, okay, I'm going to overwork myself now, because if I work myself to the bone, I'll get the approval of, okay, I deserve whatever I'm working towards, right? Because that's not even important either, right? Like it's you don't need to work hard to be successful. You get to implement some shit, and that's something that I help my private clients with, right? You get to implement strategies and automate certain things and make things easier on yourself so that you can actually just be in your flow. That's something I teach my clients. But that said, this is an aspect of opening into that quantum shift, right? Is like, hands on heart, my worth is not tied to my worth, and my deserving is not tied to waiting for other people's approval, waiting for validation, waiting for permission, right? So that's super important. So that was number 2 of the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. So how is this resonating? How is this resonating for people on points 1 and 2? And for those who are just popping in, make sure you check out the replay. It will be recorded. This is recorded, and you'll find it on Facebook and on Instagram in the video section, so it's there. But I always recommend that you join us when we go live, so that you can receive live, even though energy is energy, and the recording will also deliver. And I love Jamie's new mantra. She says, my new mantra is progression versus perfection. Yes. Great, great. So number 3, the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. Number 3 is your comfort level. Let go of your comfort level, because not only is it true that if you are a light worker who's ready to transcend and move into a leader of the new earth, which really is all about taking leadership, not only of your path, but also being a leader for others, lighting that way for others, right? It's going to take, like, if you really want to make impact, if you really want to make a difference, it's going to take you getting out of your comfort zone. And it's easy to do it, like, when you feel strong enough to do it, right? But that's why, like, I do this work with my private clients, because it's easy to have a good day and then be like, okay, I'm going out of my comfort zone. But what about those days when things are not so easy? What about those days when you feel like crap, to be honest? What about those days when you're struggling with something or feeling challenged about something? That's where the deeper work with me comes in, right? Because it's about the accountability. It's about being held and lifted even when you're not feeling strong. That's where this container of light that I hold is super, super important. And if you value actually getting results, then that's maybe something to consider. But yeah, number 3 is letting go of your comfort level. So invisible light workers prioritize their comfort level over being in service and what that could bring up for them, right? Because that's what a lot of invisible light workers do. That's why they don't make the impact they're here to make, because they're just more concerned about, like, well, I don't feel comfortable with that, right? That must be a sign from the universe. It must be a sign from my guides. No, it's just your fear. That's not intuition. Intuition's not fear. And I did a live on the whole difference between your fear and your intuition and knowing the difference. So light workers who are ready to be leaders of the new earth feel their fear. It's not that we don't feel fear, right? Like, I'm always I'm always triggering myself, sometimes on purpose, because I'm like, oh, that thing is still there, right? And so then it's an opportunity to clear something up, right? And it's also that mindset shift too. Invisible light workers are petrified. They're like, they lead their lives through fear of what they're trying to avoid, the pain they're trying to avoid, right? Leaders of the new earth feel their fear and they step in anyway, right? Yeah, so someone is sharing, I'd love it if you link that here. I'm not sure what you're saying to link here, but if it's to do deeper work with me, then that link is in my bio on Instagram. But that said, your comfort level gets to go, right? If you're really here to be a new earth leader, your comfort level gets to go. And you get to embrace being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, I've already embraced that, and that's something I actually kind of look forward to. It's exciting actually to me. And that's the whole thing of being able to be a leader, is to recognize what's coming up for you, working through that, and then opening up into your expansion, right? So leaders of the new earth, they will feel their fear and they use it to catapult them to a new way of being, instead of just staying in fear and like, oh my God, let me just avoid that now because I don't want to do that because that's scary, right? New earth leaders, they're like, ooh, that's scary. It's like, it's exciting. It's actually exciting because there is, it's a level of, it's a way of being, right? Like, so leaders of the new earth get excited by, ooh, what do I get to open up into now? What do I get to experience this week? What do I get to expand into now, right? Versus, oh my God, I got to avoid that. Like, I'm scared. I don't want to do that, right? And like doing everything that you can to avoid the scary things, right? That's really what that is. Okay. And just a reminder, make sure you ask your questions based on what I'm sharing closer to the end. And so, yeah, that's the comfort level. That's the comfort level piece. And I'm just curious, by show of hands, are you willing to let go of your comfort level? Are you willing to go out of your comfort zone? Let me know with either a Y for yes or a yes in the comments. Or you can put a hands up emoticon if you like, if that is something that you're like, yes, that's something I want to do. That's something I am going to do. That's something I'm committed to doing, right? Let me know in the comments. Michelle, I see you. I see she's raised her hand saying, yep, that's me. I'm ready to let go of my comfort level. F Bully June, yes. Liberation Codes saying yes. Mystical Dreamer says yes. Light Freebie is hands up. Crystal Rockology, yes. Michelle Villasenor, yes. Oh, look at all these yeses. Awesome. That is so exciting. That is so exciting. Woohoo. Yes, keep it going. Keep on claiming. For those on Instagram here, because I'm doing like a simulcast on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, people are all like putting their hands up, having Y's for their yes, or putting yes in here. Call Me Stormy says I can and I will. Light Freebie says it's time. Awesome. And I'm going to hold you to that, right? Like you're claiming it. So go do it, right? Go do that today. Go do that. Do something out of your comfort zone today. That's my challenge to you today. And we're not over. Like usually I do the challenges at the end. But I challenge you to do that. Today, I challenge you to do something that is out of your comfort level, out of your comfort zone in regards to you being a light worker. Maybe that could look like getting more clear on how you serve people, on your purpose. Maybe it looks like getting clearer about who exactly you're serving. Maybe that looks like doing your first post if you haven't done a post yet. Maybe that looks like doing your first video and posting it if you haven't done video yet. It can look like so many things, but just start, right? Just start. That's all you need to do is just start. And then if you've got the support, which is where support comes in, right? If you've got support, then you will be held accountable and you will be held up when you waver, because that time will come, right? That time always comes. And because when you start upgrading and you start going into a new level of existence and creation, guaranteed all your shit will come up. Guaranteed. You're going to start feeling like, oh my God, I'm messing up. I'm not doing it right. Look, this is just evidence that I'm not meant for this. Like all of your stuff is going to come up. Guaranteed. When you get out of your comfort zone, when you rise up to a new level of existence and creation, guaranteed your shit will come up. And the question is, will you deal with that, right? The question is, what will you do in that moment? Will you contract? Will you get scared and stop what you're doing? Will you stop creating? Will you let your fear take a hold of you? Or will you open? Will you open and surrender to the power that you are? Because you have a choice. You get to make a choice about it. So I hope this has helped you. And I'm ready for some questions on this topic, on the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen. So this is about being a light worker and stepping up in your visibility in a powerful, aligned way so that you can help others in a way you've never helped others before. So let me know what your questions are about that, and I'd be happy to answer them. And in the meantime, who here is going to apply that challenge? Who's going to take me up on that challenge to get out of their comfort zone? All of you who raised your hands, who said yes, or who gave me a Y for yes, who is ready to actually get out of your comfort zone today? Something like It can be small, it can be big, but it's something that you get to move out of your comfort zone as a light worker about. So let me know, do you have any questions about this topic? Let me know. And let me see if there were any questions that popped in. Okay. So let me know if you've got any questions about this topic. So as a reminder, it's about any questions that I'm going to answer. It's going to be about this topic of visibility and letting yourself be seen, and any of the content that I just shared. Anything, any other questions outside of that, I won't be responding to, because there's a lot of, random stuff that pops up, and you get to be focused on your power. Okay. All right, so I'm seeing some comments here. Okay, just as a reminder, again, I'm only answering questions about visibility as a light worker. Everything else, random questions about the universe and intuition and all that, that's for another live. Okay, Michelle is asking, when letting go of our comfort level, how do we not stay stuck in overthinking about our fear? So this is a great question, because it's the question that comes up for, I would say, all light workers when you're first either getting visible for the first time, or you're going to a new level of visibility, because yes, there are levels of visibility, right? So this is a great question. So when you notice that you're getting stuck in your overthinking, then you get to, first of all, notice what's coming up for you, right? What's coming up is that perfection, right? Like overthinking is always like, but I got to do this right. I got to do that right. I got to do this, and then I got to do that. That is procrastination. And it's also getting stuck in perfectionism, right? So you get to call out what's actually going on. So if you notice, like, for instance, okay, I'm getting stuck on this. I'm trying to get out of my comfort level, but I'm noticing that I'm getting stuck. Then go into, okay, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid may happen if I step forward with this, whatever you're about to do, to do in your comfort level that you're about to bust off, right? Excuse me. So first of all, identify what is really holding you back, right? And if it's the overthinking, if it's the, oh, I need to do this and then I need to do that, like the way that this can show up for some light workers when they're like asking, like going into their visibility in a bigger way, is that they start saying things like, if they start going into stuck mode, if they start getting into their perfectionism, they start saying things like, oh, I need like all this tech equipment, right? I need like major tripods and like lighting fixtures, and I need like the perfect camera. I need to like make sure that like my skin is all healed up from like like my acne flare up, right? Like, I mean, all these things of like, this has to be done first, that has to be done first, and then I'll show up, right? That is procrastination. And that is also perfectionism, because that is you saying, I need to be perfect first, and I need things to be perfect first before I actually show up and get out of my comfort zone, right? So identify, oh, okay, I'm noticing that I'm like, so first of all, I'm stuck. I know that. What's going on here? So, okay, I'm like seeing that I'm needing things to be perfect. So what is that telling me? I'm scared, right? I'm scared of showing up in this more visible way. I'm scared of coming out of my comfort zone. Why? Go deeper. Why? And don't say, oh, I don't know, right? That's a cop out. Why? Go deeper. If you really want to solve this problem, go deeper. And you might see something like, I'm afraid that, a loved one or family member might see this. Okay, go deeper. Why does that scare you? Maybe I have this fear that if they see who I really am, then they're going to think I'm crazy. Go deeper. That's not the end. Go deeper. And usually under that kind of observation is if I'm afraid of what other people may think about me, a lot of times it's because you haven't accepted your own power. You haven't accepted your own worth. You don't see yourself as worthy, or you don't feel deserving of attention, or you don't feel deserving of love, right? Like it goes really deep. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You get to go deep, 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 deep into the real reason why you are overthinking, right? So that's just to kind of give you an illustration of like there are layers and you get to go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to the root, that juicy root of the real reason why you're stuck. The real reason why you're letting yourself be stuck. Because it's a choice. When we are overwhelmed, when we feel stuck, being stuck is a choice. Being overwhelmed is a choice. Because no matter what you're experiencing in the world, there's always a way that you can approach it from an empowered place. And that's also part of what I've been sharing in some of my recent reels, right? Is that I'm not sharing it to be all to get like people like, oh my God, Margarita, that was intense, right? Like it's really to share like, yeah, shit can hit the fan and you can still come at things from an empowered place in yourself for you, right? So thank you for your question, Michelle. That was juicy. That was super important. And it's a good one because a lot of light workers have that fear. Liberation Codes asks, how do you overcome fear of being seen? And this is another juicy question. And I think I might take like maybe one or two additional ones, and that will be it because we'll be at the top of the hour and I respect your time. So how do you overcome the fear of being seen? Get more connected to your why. Get more connected to the reason that you're here. Get more connected to your purpose, to your service. Get connected to that thing in your heart that's like, oh my God, if I don't do this thing, if I don't show up in the world, if I don't share this message, I will like implode. Like like you literally need to be that connected to your purpose, to what is driving why you're showing up as a light worker, right? Because if it is, if you are more driven by fear and you're more driven by like the ego, where you're like, well, I'm afraid and I'm going to let that lead everything in your life, then here's the truth. Because I'm already hearing some people like, I don't do that. You know, like I may be afraid to be visible, but I'm not afraid in other aspects of my life, right? Here's the thing that I know about human behavior. The way you do one thing in your life is how you do everything else in your life. So that is why being in your power is so important. Because if you lead by fear, then not only will you be fearful when you're approaching your light worker purpose and making a difference in the world, you're probably also leading with fear in your relationships, in your career, in your business, in other aspects of your life, in your health, right? Everything is connected. On the converse end, if you are leading from your true power, from your light, from your service, from being super connected to who you are and what you want to create in the world, it's a whole different outlook, right? So to answer your question, Liberation Codes, how do you overcome fear of being seen? Get more connected to your why. Get more connected to your purpose. Get more connected to your heart and that driving force within you, especially if you're a starseed. It's like, it's your mission, right? It's like literally like your heart's desire to help raise the consciousness of humanity in the world, no matter what, right? And the more connected you are to your why, the less attached you are to your fear. because your heart's going to be like, ooh, let's do this. Let's do this, right? So that's how you start opening up into that. I hope that that helps you. All right. So someone is saying like something about what about the threats from the guides are holding you back? First of all, that question's got issues, right? Because your guides will never threaten you. Never. That's not your guides, that's your fear or your ego. One or the other. Okay. All right. I'm seeing a question here. Okay. All right. So it looks like those were the questions connected to today's topic about visibility as a light worker. And again, I'm not going to be answering any random questions about spirit guides and wellness and chakras and all this other stuff, right? In order to really respect your time and the integrity of this container, of this live, it really gets to be connected to the topic at hand. So that said, for those of you who are really getting a lot out of what I'm sharing, such as with today's live, around the 3 things you need to let go of to let yourself be seen, that's really important. That's really important to make sure that you're doing that. If you're a light worker who's ready to transcend your limitations, your old beliefs that are still stuck in the old system, and you're ready to open up into the fullness of your power and your light, you get to experience that, you know? And if you're ready to have a deep heart connection with yourself and to be held in deep transformation and deep support with me, I'm here to help you with that. And the whole thing is, if you've gotten some nuggets of wisdom, can you just imagine what it's like to receive coaching from me and mentorship and even power activations? My power activations actually will realign you with your primary timeline, will clear out things that do not serve you anymore, and will really elevate your frequency very quickly. It's super quick because it taps into that ascension frequency, that new earth frequency, and it's a very quick thing, right? And then the next step is being in the consistency of that. So if that's something that you would love support in and you are interested in deep heart connection, that level of deep heart connection and transformation to be held and supported so that you can really make that quantum leap into your true power, then I recommend that you book a call with me. And that link is in my bio and in Instagram. And I will also include it here on Facebook if anyone wants that link as well. So I hope this served you. Happy Monday. Make sure that for all of you, those of you who said, yes, I'm going out of my comfort level, I'm going to make this happen, I challenge you to make that happen today. Do one thing, one action that is going to take you out of your comfort zone, either in a small or a big way. And even, I encourage you to also share that in the comments, even though, I'm going to put this up on replay in my feed and Instagram and Facebook. And I invite you to share how that went for you. Okay? So much love, light, and power, and may you be a leader of the new earth who's really showing up for the world and really embodying your light and your ability to transform the world because the world needs you. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day and your week.